All right, hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Tonight is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. This is your evening tropical update. Across the Atlantic Basin this evening, we continue to track Major Hurricane Sam, a Category 4 storm to the north of the Caribbean islands. Maximum state winds remain near 130 miles an hour, Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. But no big changes to Sam otherwise. The storm is behaving as it should and is expected to recurve away from the U.S. We're also tracking newly minted Tropical Storm Victor down here in the main development region of the Atlantic Basin. And Victor will also harmlessly move up and out to sea. We'll show you those two tracks and what else we're tracking here this evening. So, current NHC map tonight as of 8 p.m. Really just, other than Sam and Victor, not much else going on. The remnants of Peter no longer expected to redevelop. And our other Invest 91L trying to run away from Victor and hopefully cling to some life. It has a 30% chance to develop in the next 5 days. So we'll show you Sam's satellite presentation, a much more stable hurricane than it was over the last few days. That central dense overcast, those reds you're seeing on the satellite beginning to kind of expand around the eye a little bit better. Real deep convection. Like those blacks and whites really aren't sustaining very well. But the system still remains a Category 4 hurricane. It's pretty strong, and the eye is a little bit more stable than it was a couple days ago. So we might see Sam actually level off or even intensify a little bit more. It still has wind shear and water temperatures on its side, but there was a lot of dry air in the vicinity of the storm and earlier microwave passed to indicate this big moat of dry air around the system. So still dealing with that a little bit, but Hurricane Hunter's still finding a pretty nice storm. Central pressure near 940 millibars and flight level winds around 130 knots. Pretty impressive. So you get about 130 mile an hour surface wind when you do all the conversions from flight level to surface and then from knots to miles per hour. All kind of shakes out to be a Category 4, and it maintains that intensity this evening. Could even be a little bit stronger, but overall not too bad. The track of Sam has not changed. 5 p.m. cone still shows this thing moving well north and away from the Caribbean islands and still confidently expected to miss Bermuda for any direct impacts. It will be a major hurricane as it passes, but Sam isn't super big, so other than swell waves and some breezy winds, shouldn't be much to worry about for Bermuda. And confidence has even increased tonight that Sam will stay away from Atlantic Canada, from Newfoundland, and Nova Scotia. I would still watch the forecast just to be safe, but for right now, it looks like Sam is just going to kind of move on out to sea and not bother anybody. So good news there. We go ahead and move over to Victor, the 20th named storm of the 2021 season. Only the third time on record, I believe, we have named a storm with the V letter. We had Vicky last year in 2020, which was the earliest time we've ever used the V name on record. And then we had Vince, I believe, in 2005. That was a hurricane, I think, that hit the Iberian Peninsula, if I'm not mistaken. But Victor, the third time we've used it, is the second earliest 20th named storm on record. And unbelievably, it is the 50th named storm since the start of the 2020 season. So, like, in the last 15 months or so, we've had like 50 named storms. It's pretty incredible. So, unbelievable pace. And Victor is the latest one. Formed really far south. The center of circulation tonight somewhere around 8.4 degrees north, kind of probably somewhere nestled in this convection. Some nice spiral bands moving in. It is the, I believe, according to Philip Klotzbach at Colorado State, it is the second lowest forming tropical storm on record, only second to Kirk, which formed in 2018, like at 8.1. So Kirk was like here, and then, Victor was like here. So one of the furthest south and furthest east storms on record in the basin, especially for this time of year. It is pretty impressive. But Victor is fortunately going to stay out to sea. It'll definitely strengthen over the next couple days. It has wind shear, water temperatures, and all that stuff on its side. It'll become a hurricane sometime probably on Friday, and then it will begin to weaken as some drier air gets a hold of it and is going to follow Sam out to sea. If you look at the overall basin-wide satellite presentation again, you can see pretty clearly the area of high pressure rotating clockwise, and Sam was just going to ride up, or Victor is just going to ride up on that up and out of here. So no big problems with this, no surprises. This little guy stays out to sea. So the rest of the basin, I mean, you have Peter's remnants no longer expected to form. Way too much cold water. That thing is cooked, and that will be off the NHC's next map at 2 a.m. And you have Invest 91L. This thing is running away from Peter. It's, well, trying to. It's on the edge of your screen here. And it looks like it is actually going to break away. Not a lot of convective activity. It looks like some of the drier air is getting involved in it. This system not only has to deal with having its moisture robbed from Peter, from Victor, rather. But in the coming days, it's also going to have to traverse this part of the basin where Sam's outflow. You can't really see him very well, but there's some strong upper winds leaving Sam. You can kind of see it in these upper clouds right here, but there's some strong winds pushing from the north to the south across this part of the region of the basin. And 91L, even if it does escape Victor, is just going to have to track through that. So some models just go ahead and push this into Central America or Southern America, South America, geez, and call it a day. Others lift it up just enough where some of that energy gets into the Caribbean sometime next week. We'll keep an eye on it, but otherwise, not much else to talk about with that one. Probably going to stick around the map a couple days and then get taken off. And the only thing to really track is some tropical moisture pulling up out of the Caribbean sometime next week. So we're going to go ahead and set this model up to early next week. This is Monday evening, and you can see some plume of tropical moisture with some low pressure stamps by the GFS. And this has been a pretty common, pretty strong signal from the GFS. It keeps thinking something wants to lift out of the Caribbean early next week. Now, if you look at previous model runs, it's not as impressive, but there's still a general, kind of inverted trough or weak cyclonic rotation somewhere around, the central Caribbean, central Cuba, the Bahamas. This isn't really indicating an organized like tropical storm or tropical depression, but it does indicate that there's some kind of disturbed weather pattern coming out. Now, there's going to be a pretty good cold front moving across the eastern U.S. at this time, so it could just be a little something ahead of that. But it is something we're going to keep an eye on. The GFS has been consistent enough to pay it some attention. It's been a pretty good model this year, so we'll keep an eye on that. But other than that, guys, there is not a whole lot else going on. The large scale ensembles out through 180 hours through Thursday of next week. The European shows nothing going on down here and confidently pushes our two storms away. Notice how yesterday all those models that had curved back into Atlantic Canada for Sam have now disappeared. I believe the GFS still carries a couple of those. Yeah, a couple still get kind of close, but for the most part, the majority of them move away. There's that low pressure stamp the GFS keeps talking about. We're going to keep an eye on it, but right now it's not really showing you anything strong. It's just, a hint that you keep an eye on. This time of year, the Caribbean is very warm. Any kind of system, any kind of disturbance that gets in there, you want to keep an eye on it. But again, no specific threats, so overall it looks pretty good for the next several days. Looks like we're going to end September on a quiet note as far as the landfalls go, and that should extend into the start of October. But as I tell y'all, keep an eye on October. I don't think we're going to see that record crazy October we saw last year with all those storms in Central America and coming up towards Florida and whatnot. But could have a couple. So we'll keep an eye on that. And just remember, we only have one name left on the year, which is Wanda, I believe. And if we use that name anytime soon, then we will be officially on to the auxiliary naming list. We're not using the Greek alphabet this year. We are using a second naming list. So we're just going to restart with a new list and go down from there. So that's what I got for you guys this evening on your tropical update. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.